Hello, everyone. Welcome to Travel Massive, our live show from Toronto. My name is Christina. I am the co-organizer for the Toronto chapter here. Great to have you all with us. Each week, we've been bringing you some really cool webinars and then insightful guest speakers that are in the travel and tech space. And in case you missed any of our past webinars from any of our Travel Massive meetups around the world, you can watch them all on the Travel Massive website. Of course, just go over there and hit replay. Today, I'm really excited. We're talking all about travel video. And I just took a quick look at our event page. We have 100 people joining us, 180 joining us from around the world today, which is fantastic. So thank you to everyone tuning in. Before we get started, as always, we have our live chat happening right down below. So drop your questions there at any time during the show. If you're watching us on Facebook, you can also ask your questions there. Okay, so I'm really excited about this next guest today. We've got Michael Corey joining us. If you know him, I'm sure many of you do, from Fearless and Far, his YouTube channel. His content is compelling and it's immersive, and he's just got this contagious curiosity for everything around him. Behind the camera, he's just a genuine, good-spirited kind of guy, and he's been able to turn his passion for travel and documenting his journey into a full-time successful career. I'm going to bring Mike in now. Oh, there you go. Hi, Mike.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for doing this today. We're really excited to have you.
My pleasure. We were talking before because I saw in my intro that I was one of the very first ever Travel Massive members, and I was like, "Are you serious?" But I was there for that very first meetup in Sydney, Australia, probably a decade ago.
Isn't that cool? That's like, yeah, a decade ago, and then we met in Toronto just a few months later at the Travel Massive there. And like, I have to say, it's been so amazing to see to see at your beginning where you've come from and how far you've come, and now where you're at. You've had a few subscribers back then when I knew you then, and now you're at like 300,000 subs on YouTube, like millions of views. You're hosting the BBC Travel Show now.
Yeah. It's been a wild journey for sure. Mm-hmm.
It's just very cool to watch. And it's what I love is that a lot of members we meet them in the beginning, and then they go away and do their thing and then come back and share it with everybody. And that's really community for us. And we love that. So thank you for doing that.
Well, I have to say thank you, Travel Massive, because after meeting all the crew there in Sydney, Ian and Alicia and everybody else, and then us going to Toronto and starting up a Travel Massive there, which is the one you're involved with, Alicia, and I had a small part in it, maybe a little bit, mostly Alicia. But then from there, having this group of people, and when you're beginning in this job, it's intimidating. There's so many people making so many different kinds of content, but having this meetup where you can go and you can talk shop with people, or even just talk travel, with people who get it. And for me, being from a small town in Canada on the far East Coast and the Atlantic Canada, in New Brunswick, there wasn't many people there I could talk travel with. So I moved to Toronto, and that monthly gathering was the fuel that I was able to harness to be able to make this career work. The connections I made, the talks that I saw, like this one, it meant a lot to me and helped me grow so much. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. But your background isn't really in travel or video. Like you're
marine biology.
Yeah.
And
so how did
and phycology, seaweed, insects, and nothing to do with travel, really.
Not at all. So how did you get into travel and making videos? And did you take courses? Did you teach yourself?
Yeah, well, for me, I mean, I say there's not a connection, but it's always easier to see the connection looking back. But I was just an obsessively curious kid. I loved bugs. I loved seaweeds. I loved everything outdoors. And I would always be flipping over rocks, seeing what was underneath, a snake, a spider, a salamander, or nothing. And that was one of my addictions that whenever I go back home, like I was recently during the pandemic, that people always make fun of me because I still sometimes do that. Because under every rock, there's an adventure, right? Yeah. And then growing up and kind of like getting myself into travel in a kind of a weird, awkward, jumbled way, we'll get to that later, I realized that it's just that same thing, but on a bigger scale. The world's a big rock, and I like flipping over that. And so my travel style now is very similar. I love showing people things they don't understand, places they don't understand, foods they don't understand, and just like a salamander or a spider under a rock, if you take time to really break it down, understand how it works, understand why it's there, its purpose, whether it be eating something funny or a creepy crawly, like there's always beauty there. And I've always been fascinated sharing that with the world. And so my alias now is Fearless and Far, because I go out of my way to find these things that make me uncomfortable, to then show myself and the world that, hey, you know what, it's just misunderstood. And that's kind of how I got here today. Yeah.
And we're so excited to have you and to hear what you've learned over the years. And so I'm going to kind of give you the floor, and then I can come back and help sort of facilitate some questions. So if anyone's got questions, throw them in the chat, and we'll definitely get to them.
Yeah, fantastic.
All right, cool.
So now it's just me and you guys here. I'm actually in Poland. I just arrived here about 2 weeks ago when the European Union opened up to Canadians on the 2nd. So I've been in a self-imposed quarantine here, and it's just ended, which is fantastic. But we're not here to talk about that exactly. We're here to talk about travel video. And like we spoke about just briefly so far, Christina and you guys, is that the journey's been a long one. So about 10 years ago, I started doing travel video. And back then, there wasn't much travel video at all. And I never thought I'd be the kind of guy that would be doing this, but I kind of had some circumstances in my life that made me forced me to do some crazy things at that first big trip, and eventually making that first video. And so how I originally got into travel video was about 10 years ago. There was a ton of these travel competitions where it's like, enter a video showing us why it'd be fun to watch you travel the world, and you'll be one of thousands that enter, and we'll pick one of you to go and do that exact same thing. So I entered all of these, basically just threw these videos at every single competition. And in the beginning, I was anything but a natural. But it's funny, when you do 45 takes of saying your name wrong, and then 46 is good, and you only put in take 46, people are like, oh, you're a natural. And meanwhile, they don't see like the literal tears of you in your bedroom trying to say your name right on a camera. Even this right now, if you ever tried to do like a live stream, or even just talking like a normal person to a camera, it's really weird for a long time. It takes a lot of practice. But yeah, so I just basically entered all these competitions, lost a lot, but ended up winning a few. Got to travel around a lot more and make some movies, and that was great. It was mostly on YouTube, but then I started to get into more travel filmmaking. I was finally getting a little bit of money, getting paid, and so while in the beginning I was making these videos, talking to the camera, it switched over to making videos for brands, bigger budgets, more people involved, a whole production team. I worked for Skype. I worked for tourism boards like Germany and Italy, making these cinematic pieces for festivals or parks or whatever's happening. The biggest piece I did was we did a series of 25 videos, myself and a guy named Kaspar Diedrich of Story Travelers, 25 videos for the German National Tourism Board to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the reunification of Germany. So massive project. Then, while I did love that, I felt that I had gone through a lot of personal changes. And in my life, I've always had this kind of like dance with fear, where I grew up kind of a shy, fearful guy. And my hero's journey was conquering fear of public speaking, fear of everything through travel. Travel showed me how much I could grow, and not always by choice. You know, you travel so much and you get thrown in all kinds of crazy situations where you have to make choices and grow. And so I wanted to speak about that. So the name Fearless and Far came up, and a travel style and a travel YouTube channel, the one I have now, bloomed, which was finding these things and challenging myself and helping the viewers challenge themselves, sometimes vicariously through me. With some of these crazier experiences. So for example, I went to an orange throwing festival. Yeah, that's a real thing. And they hurt like fists in Italy last year. I lived in the remote Canadian wilderness for a week. I buried myself in sand for 24 hours just a few months ago before everything got locked down. So these challenges that kind of push me to the limit to, again, make myself, my mind, my body more bulletproof, but also knowing that if you just make yourself uncomfortable often, you get pretty comfortable being uncomfortable. And if you're comfortable being uncomfortable, there's really not much in life that holds you back. So that brings us here today. And this whole story I told you because I have seen the ins and outs of basically every kind of travel video scenario. Now I'm also a host on a BBC travel show as well. So that's a big part of my job now. I have a YouTube channel, Fearless and Far, Instagram, all that, but also I'm a television host. And so today we're going to be talking about a lot of things. For me, a guy who never thought he'd ever be speaking to a group of people because he was terrified of it, is now doing it as a full-time job on television and on YouTube. And I want to talk about some of the things that I learned along the way and why I think just creating video is such an important thing to getting you where you want to be in life. So I have some points. I mean, I wrote, we made the description, and there was three we spoke about, like how to be successful making videos, the mistakes, as well as what no one tells you. And we'll cover those, but I want this to be a bit more open. So if you guys have comments or questions, you can put them in the chat and they'll be sent to me, and we'll tackle some of them at the end, but also if they're relevant to the situation happening now, we'll talk about them in real time. One thing I'm going to ask though is, let's not talk about gear until maybe the very end, just because it's I don't really feel gear is an important focus, because at the end of the day, the most important thing, and it's always the big secret that people always tell you but no one always listens, is you just have to start. At the end of the day, that's the big secret. Not what camera you're shooting on. It's just grabbing a phone or whatever you can find and just starting. And that's the big secret that every YouTuber, every travel video person will tell you, is just, you just got to make the videos. It seems so obvious, but that's it. So gear, we'll talk about it at the end. I love gear, of course. It helps you get the job done, but we'll handle that one at the end. So any questions? Fire them in, and I'm going to start with the first point. And see, look, I made a little notepad. How to be successful making travel videos. So first of all, what exactly is successful? So I think in this world, we see travel YouTubers, and we see that as a model of success. But depending on what exactly you want to do, success can mean different things. It can mean like a Maseratis, or it can just mean doing what you love. And at the end of the day, I think the quest, especially for us travelers who aren't very materialistic, is we just want to do what we love. And so whether your YouTube channel has 50,000 subscribers or 1 million subscribers, at the end of the day, if you are waking up and making things and you can make a living off of what you love doing, that's it. And the thing about travel video is it's not always as apparent how you're making money. So how I'm making money is this thing that you might have heard of been called before, but this income octopus from many different places. Sure, I have about 300,000 subscribers on YouTube, but honestly, like it works. It works well, but that's not where the majority of my income comes from. I'm never one who really loves to advertise, and as well, depending on where the audience is from, it's hard to make a lot of money if the majority followers aren't really American or European. So the idea here is how do you become successful? And the thing that I've realized over the years is making content is like fishing, and this applies to a lot of things. It applies to YouTube, applies to Instagram, applies to whatever else, but especially YouTube, because things last in the system longer. You throw a tweet on there or an Instagram photo, it's gone in 24 to 48 hours. It probably will never be seen again, honestly. But YouTube content can stick. Videos can stick. And when you have all of these pieces sticking, an interesting thing happens. Every time you make a piece of content, it's like a fish hook in the ocean. And so when you only have a couple hooks in the ocean, end of the day, you might not catch anything. But you put 100 hooks in the ocean, 200, 300, maybe some with tasty bait, maybe ones that aren't so great. But at the end of the day, you have a lot of hooks in the ocean. You never know what's going to swim by. Sure, it could be a viewer and a potential subscriber that then make you some ad revenue. Or it could be a television producer. Or it could be the mom and pop shop down the road who wants to pay someone to come in and talk about their lollipops. You know, like the idea that I've realized about how to be successful is just by making content as often as you can, and then waiting back and seeing what comes. And if you feel like it's not working, just to make more. And that's how I made it work, at least over the years, trying different kinds of content, trying different styles, varieties, and just putting all those fish hooks in the ocean. So then eventually when BBC came by, saw my video of a baby jumping festival in Spain, where once a year, all of the newborns that were born in the past 12 months get put on the streets on mattresses, and the guy dressed as the devil jumps over the babies in the street. They say, hey, this guy looks pretty good. We'll have a Skype call with him, and boom, that's how I got the job. Right? So I think successful can mean a lot of different things, but it all starts with making content. and not putting YouTube success specifically on the amount of subscribers and views, because there's other things like Patreon, subscription service. People can pay you a certain amount a month to support your content. Brand deals pop up, all these different things. And honestly, the more niche you get, my content's pretty niche. Like, I go to the Walking Dead festival in Tarai, Indonesia, and watch them open coffins and make videos about that. Not exactly brand friendly a lot of the time, but when you make things that are niche, you get niche opportunities that are only pretty much for you, and therefore you can monetize that, and you can make a living off of that. One thing that changed how I made content in the beginning was this idea that I have never been a guy that liked all-inclusive resorts. I never was a guy who kind of like did the normal thing. I always kind of liked, like I told you in the beginning, these curiosities, exploring the fringes, and I found myself wanting to make these things that are trending. And there is merit in making things that are trending, trend jacking. There is merit there, but I feel it's not going to make you happy in the long run. It's good to flirt with those things, but at the end of the day, the thing that changed my life was realizing that I like making a certain kind of content, and then not letting myself make anything other than that. So I asked myself, why are you making the same content everyone else is when you're willing to make the content that people aren't? And I stuck with that and moved forward. So guys, how's everyone doing? Doing okay? We're gonna do this for about 20 more minutes, maybe 15 more minutes, and we'll jump into a more Q&A period. But I want to talk about that because I think it's very important that we define success not so much as just YouTube subscribers and view count. Because if you're making, again, niche, and you should be making more niche content, because the beauty of the online world is you can have these people who like the same strange things or strange kind of travel or interesting things along the way. It could be bugs or it could be macaroni pictures. There's an audience out there for you. And at the end of the day, you want to be making these loyal fans and these true fans. And the idea of being able to have a small amount of people who really love what you do, you have to be able to put your true personality in that. We see, it's like real life. There's people that you get along with really well in person, and there's people out there who need to see you and they'll get along with you really well online, and they'll be a true fan. At the end of the day, the success is being able to cultivate these true fans into an audience that you can support yourself with. And in my opinion, that's what success is. So going back into the itinerary here. So I put a point that's the mistakes I see again and again. And it's not really a mistake, but something I want to talk about that I've seen a lot of people get a bit wrapped up in is how a travel video should be made and whether they should be speaking to the camera. And maybe they're not good at being on camera, but what, this whole idea of how it should be done. This is what I feel about speaking on camera. I told you a couple times already that I was not a natural at it. And if you want to know more about that story of mine, there's lots of content about it. But at the end of the day, learning how to do this painfully with a blunt instrument, with just difficulty and frustration, was probably the best thing that I've ever done in my entire life. I was not gifted at speaking. But the thing is, life is speaking. All day long we speak. This thing we do is almost as important as breathing. Being able to speak is more important than your job qualifications. If you can speak well, you can achieve just about anything in life. And by pushing myself to make travel videos, even when no one was watching in the beginning, even when I was horrible at it, it improved my presentation of myself. It improved my message, because even doing things like this, we're on a live stream right now and I'm telling you guys some tips, but I'm still almost like teaching myself too, because when you're out there expressing yourself and the things you love with your voice, you help yourself too. And getting into travel video, it helps you achieve what you want to do, because number one, of course, like your language skills improve and your message improves, and then everything else improves. These small little tiny things that you can make by making travel videos improve everything else. And in the beginning, I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, I'm not good on camera. I don't want to be on camera. I just want to show, the beauty, or maybe do a voiceover or something." Your face needs to be in it. The whole point of being a content creator, an influencer, if you like that word, is to build a connection. And what's better than a face-to-face conversation? And that's why I always think that people need to put their face in it more often, is because people can connect with people, not places. People need faces. I think it was Anthony Bourdain's producer who first told me this idea. I didn't meet them in person. It was an article, but it was this idea like where do people care where Tony goes? And the answer was always no, because they're not really there for the place. Like, you're still going to watch No Reservations if he goes to Baltimore or Bangladesh, right? You're still going to watch it. You're watching for Tony and, of course, the place. But at the end of the day, you need that connection. And if you're just doing wide pans of landscapes and mountains, people click away really quick. We connect with each other, and that's really important. So quick question from Natasha from Amsterdam. Any advice on how you can monetize your travel vlog aside from YouTube ads? Yeah, like I was saying, YouTube ad rev is probably the one that people see the most, right? Like, you watch the ad, the person gets literally pennies. It's like if you get 1 million views, you might get $1,000, which is hard to pull off sometimes in travel. But like I said, the brand deals are quite an easy thing to do, where you can, like, for example, you're going to a location or you're going to a hotel and you contact them in advance saying, I'd like to make content about your place. Can you pay me? Or it could be an app, or you see all these NordVPN things happening now, where it's a VPN app that actually will pay you. I think Patreon's a good one as well, having people be able to pay you once in a while. For me, one that I didn't speak about was licensing. So because I was going and filming a lot of these strange places and strange festivals, like the Bulls of Fire, where in Mexico they take these car-sized metal contraptions bent in the shape of bulls, fill them with fireworks, and they chase people. You license this footage either on licensed sites or on YouTube. People contact you. So there's a lot of different ways to be able to do that. But going back for a second to the speaking thing, I know there's people watching right now who say they don't want to do it because they're not good at it. Why do you think you're not good at it? Because you haven't practiced, and you're scared. Basically, you're scared. And at the end of the day, what's more important? And this is the whole basis of this whole Fearless and Far thing. My handle is because for so long in my life, I let fear hold me back. And over these things that would never, ever hurt me, just because it made me uncomfortable. It wasn't me, but something inside of me made me realize that the person I wanted to be was greater than this feeling of being uncomfortable and this feeling of embarrassment. And I can tell you, on the other side, this guy who was terrified to speak and would have panic attacks whenever I had to give presentations back in high school, it was the best thing I ever did. Instead of using this fear thing in your life as a wall, saying you can't do this, you can't do that trip, you can't give that presentation, you can't go to public speaking classes. And then on the other side, realizing that the only reason I said I couldn't is because I wasn't good, and now everyone calls me a natural, and I'm so good at it and gifted, and I was born with this talent. I wasn't born with this. I just at one point decided to raise my middle finger to fear, and that I decided my life was more important than these artificial barriers I was putting up, and that got me here today. And for me, it was starting these videos, and it wasn't always that easy. Life threw some left and right hooks at me and made me have to make some tough choices, but in the day I chose to grow, and everyone always has that decision. So put yourself on video. It's worth it. So last point I want to talk about before we go into a more Q&A session is this idea on what no one tells you about YouTube. So in the beginning, YouTube was mostly geared towards likes and subscribers and comments. So you'd want to get a video with a lot of views. Views is a metric in the beginning, how popular or how much of a quality video it was. If it got 1 million views, it was better than a video with 10,000 views, right? And I think we're still stuck in this mentality, whereas YouTube changed years ago. So now what's happening, and this will make so much sense once I tell you, but it's not apparent, and it's not really talked about, is that view count, likes, comments don't really matter anymore. A little bit. What really matters is two things. It's CTR and AVD, click-through ratio and average view duration. So right now in YouTube, these things are the absolute paramount as far as being able to get your video to be successful. And again, it seems so simple once it's explained, but I had to have it explained to me like 1.5 years ago, and I was like, oh my God, how did I not think of this myself? Anyway, so what YouTube wants you to do, right, is they want you to watch a video so they can play ads and they can make some money. So what wouldn't the most important metric be? How much of a video is being watched? And you could say that's a view, right? If you click on a video and it's a view, then that should be a view. But we all know that views aren't really views. Views can be 10 seconds and someone clicks away, or a playlist plays and they didn't even click on it. End of the day, this average view duration of a video has become one of the most important metrics, because it is pretty much the only logical and truthful indicator of a quality of a video. Because in any other circumstance, let's say it's clickbait, you're not going to watch the full 5-10 minutes. You're going to click away. If it's not clickbait, but it's just not interesting, then you're going to click away as well. And then YouTube can't monetize your view as much because you're clicking away and you're leaving the site or whatever it is. So a video that is able to capture people for the entire time is seen in a very positive light for YouTube. So if you have a video that has like a 60% average view duration, meaning that most people watch an average of 60% of the video, that's a fantastic number. Higher is better. I would say most videos on YouTube now are like 35%. So if you can make a video that is compelling enough for people to be able to actually watch that percentage, that's really good. But on top of that, you see a lot of videos now that are getting longer and longer, because for many years, people were saying that shorter videos are better, right? The attention span of the world is too short and you can't make videos that were 20 minutes. But then all of a sudden there was all these videos that were 20 minutes. What happened there exactly, right? Now you watch people just kind of talk about whatever in their kitchen for 20 minutes and it has 1 million views. Another important metric for YouTube is the total view duration. So if you make a 20-minute video, the maximum potential for watch time, that's what the metric is 20 minutes. You make a 3-minute video, the maximum potential is only 3 minutes. So longer videos can have longer watch time. And then also you can put more advertisements in, which is, the seedy underbelly of every single business in the world is making money. But this number, that's why it's gotten bigger. So we've talked about watch time, we've talked about average view duration, how those are very, very important metrics. The third one is CTR. And so how do you get people to click? Well, title and thumbnail, really, because at the end of the day, that's all people are seeing, and they're being served hot and fresh, hundreds of them, basically, if they scroll through. And how are people ever going to know how good your video is if you don't put time into that thumbnail and title? This made so much sense to me once I heard it. And I never really thought about thumbnails. Like I did at the time. I'd spend all the time in the world editing my videos. And then I would, right before I posted it, be like, oh, screen grab this scene of me kind of like this with a carrot because I'm feeding a donkey, or, just kind of Frankenstein something together from a screenshot at the very end and really not think about it at all. And then the same thing with the title, be like, like man feeds funny donkey. I don't know why I'm saying donkey. I've never made a donkey video before, but you know what I mean? Just hobbling something together when really that is the most important part. You could spend 5 years editing a video and 30 seconds doing a thumbnail and just waste it all completely. But if you flipped it, I mean, obviously not 5 years on a thumbnail, but if you prioritize the thumbnail and title first and get people in and the video's good, or even the video's okay, that's fantastic. At the end of the day, you are competing against every other video on that big scrolling list. And if your thumbnail and title are not up to par, you're not going to get the click. It doesn't matter how good your video is because people are never going to see it anyway, right? You're not going to click on it. And so what I do now is I have a book, and I'm pretty religious about it. And it's just titles of videos, titles, and trying to make them happen beyond that. Basically, I am making titles and thumbnails, and then the video is like the extra part at the end because I've realized that is the most important part. And I didn't just have this brain lightning strike myself. This is something I had heard from someone else last year, but doesn't that make so much sense that the title and thumbnail are kind of the really most important thing? And maybe if you're a blogger, this is something that's more natural because you're always writing. But for YouTubers, it seems that this is something you smash together in the last minute. You don't care about it, but it really is the most important part. And shooting a thumbnail specifically for that video while you're there of a high quality still is really, really an important thing. And to prioritize that as much as getting the video done itself. Because again, if you can spend all day doing a video, but if you don't take time to make that thumbnail and title, I mean, the title you can do after, but the thumbnail has to be done in the moment. High quality still. Think about it. What's going to look good? Plain background, something simple, minimalistic, that's powerful, it's going to pop. And that's all this stuff is what people don't really tell you about YouTube these days. So here we are. We are 30 minutes in exactly. I've got a couple more points, but I saw a couple of questions come up. This is now our question and answer period. And let's dive in. So I tackled the Monetize Your Travel vlog for the most part by Natasha. Let me know if you guys want to hear more about that. But for now, I'm going to move on to Petra. Oh, Restless Child. Hi, Petra. Brand person balance. Do you ever feel like the brand you've created of yourself is limiting you in some way? Could be in regard to lifestyle destinations or emotionally. That's a really, really good question because you create a brand around yourself. Well, at least I have, and some people do that. And you pigeonhole yourself into doing a certain kind of content. Like I wouldn't go do fancy French cheeses in Marseille or something, you know what I mean? And so if I get a paid opportunity to go do that, I still say no to it. And I've had to become very, very picky about these things because I realized I was getting burnt out by not doing things I absolutely loved. So I would be invited on these sometimes well-paid press trips to go do the sights and sounds of some country, and it just wouldn't excite me. And I did them for a while, and you can always add some creative juice to it and make it pop in a certain way. But after you get good at time lapses and you do like a point of view video, and eventually you just want to kind of film your own thing. So for me, I only choose projects now that are either on brand for me completely, the Fearless and Far brand, or I've just been able to monetize my own stuff. And at the end of the day, I think that is the ultimate success that I haven't quite reached yet, which is being able to film whatever you want, but have an audience base of true fans that will support you and make it work. So if I want to go, one thing we did a couple of days ago is leech therapy. In Poland, they have leech therapy, and I wanted to try it. And I did. But the beauty is that because I've chosen to do these very brand unfriendly things, you're not going to have very many brands lunging at the fact to support you're getting your blood sucked by leeches. Being able to create this niche group of true fans to monetize that is very important. But living the brand all the time is also difficult, right? Like, so you have this online personality of this guy or gal who does this cool stuff. That was difficult for me in the beginning because I wasn't always doing the cool stuff. But now since I turned the brand, I used to be called Kick the Grind. Christina and I talked about this before we went live. And I changed the name to Fearless and Far because with Kick the Grind, I didn't feel like I was making the content that was me. Now I feel like I'm making the content that's me. And all the quirky, weird stuff that I like in the travel world, the pig knuckle sandwich or the balut in the Philippines, while it's not the tastiest thing, I just like showing people. I've always loved showing people these strange, unique things. And so I find it a bit easier to live the brand. I would say if you feel like you're having a hard time, like an extremely hard time, anybody, think if you're making content that is really deeply true to you, or you're being influenced a little bit too much by what's the trend as far as travel right now, travel content. Because I know I fall in that trap all the time where I start to feel uninspired, and it's because I'm trying to think of ways I can be like everybody else when you don't need to be, right? The most creative people can make it work. They won't get a billion followers a lot of the time, but they'll be happier with a small, more dedicated following. Those motorbikes are loud. Abigail from Nashville, what would you say the sweet spot for length to keep people engaged? Well, it can be anything. Really, I'm gonna walk over here, guys, and get a bit closer to the window so the light's a bit better. The thing is like, how are you gonna make a video that that keeps people engaged? And I think there is a very, very, very successful person right now, probably going to be one of the top YouTubers in the world very shortly, is a guy, Mr. Beast. Maybe you're familiar with him. He makes all these kind of money challenge videos. So besides that, I mean, of course, if you're giving $1 million away to the pizza delivery boy, you're going to get some clicks. But what he's mastered is how to keep people engaged. And so if you just type in, oh, Christina, we can try this banner thing now. Hold on. Mr. Beast ad banner. Did it work? Wait, hold on. Show. There it is. We got it. Okay, so just for a quick little research after this, if you guys want to check it out, the format this guy has is amazing, because the thing is, like, people are going to stay engaged if they click on something that is correct. The last thing people want to see is clickbait, right? Like, for the longest time, even still now, clickbait is such a massive thing. And if you're not getting what you signed up for, you're going to click away, right? All the time. But if you reaffirm why someone clicked on the video right away, and you keep that pace going, YouTube is about pacing. And that's why you see like all these crazy, like, quick cut YouTubers. And it's like a bit overwhelming in the beginning, but the pace is driving forward. I remember when I was first learning how to cut for pace, I'd invite a friend, girlfriend, mother, whoever was around to watch the video. And I would sit back like a foot behind them, and I'd watch them watch the video. They wouldn't know I was watching them. It was probably a little bit creepy. But I would see when they looked away, or when they yawned, or they got distracted, because then I know the pacing was gone. And that's really one of the most important things, right? Because this whole watch time, average view duration, is one of the most important things for YouTube videos. And if it feels slow and then it's dragging on, people are going to click away. Too short's always better than too long, if you can keep that pace going effectively. But another good strategy for keeping pace going is having like a payout, like something like a competition where there's an actual final thing. Like, think of a mountain climb. There's the summit. Humans are built to have a story arc. And if there's no story arc, there's no suspense, there's no moment of the hero realizing his true potential, or whatever it be, just the climax of story, what are people sticking around for? If they feel like they get it after a minute and the video is 10 minutes, they're not going to keep watching. So what's the payoff at the end? Again, the example I gave of Mr. Beast, he's a great one, because he's a massive YouTuber, but if you just watch his videos in that sort of, looking for that kind of structure, you'll see it. And then you just tweak it in your head to find your own applications, because I don't have $50,000 to give to the streamer on whatever, Fortnite either. So, but finding your own applications for that. All right. Private chat. Next question from Petra. How do you approach making content for new viewers and your subscribers? Do you approach each video as a separate project, or do you cultivate a community? Do you mean, so like content for people who are just joining, or how I'm finding, if you can clarify, I'll jump on to the next question until you clarify. Yes. So do you mean like a big adventure where like van life, for example, is a big adventure, or do I treat each video as like an independent mountain and then I go on to the next mountain? So just clarify that, and I'll jump over to Greg Snell's question. Yo, Greg, what's going on, man? We're buds. This is a great resource for how Google AI visually reads your thumbnail. Oh, cool, great. I didn't know that was a thing. That is a fantastic thing, because and there was a big change they made just like about a year ago, where booties and breasts, even male chests, all got flagged for inappropriate content. So in the beginning, you can make all these travel videos just like basically a booty cam, and they do well because the thumbnail will be there and people click on that kind of stuff, obviously. And now that's not possible. So they get demonetized just by that being in itself. So this is the tool. Good share, Greg. I'll check it out. Didn't know about that. From Jason, what are your thoughts on 360 VR video? Will you venture into that? I haven't. And this is why, Jason. Keeping people engaged with just a rectangle that they don't have any other options is difficult enough. And so when you start adding the 360 environment in, how are people going to know where to look? And then how are they going to be pulled into the story? You know what I mean? And transitions are a really important thing in videos like this whole pacing, this driving, keeping things going. And again, maybe I'm speaking out of a bit of ignorance because I've never actually tried, but I don't see how you can make a video as engaging doing 360 VR. However, I'm not saying you can't. And I do see an application for it. Like, for example, I talked and I said I went to the Orange fight last year. I think it'd be really cool to take a 360 VR camera, put it on a backpack or something, and then go into one of these things like La Tomatina or this Orange fight, or pick any kind of crazy festival where it's just chaos, and walk around, throw a few tomatoes and have fun. I think in that application it'd be really cool. Or like an overall walkthrough. Like, there's channels that have walkthroughs that do really well, where it's like 1 hour walk through Mexico City. And I don't know what the average view duration for that is, probably not that high, but people do click on it because it's got couple million views, you know what I mean? So in those circumstances, I think it could work. But as far as telling a story, I think it'd be difficult. But like I said, I had begun to think about it last year, and I think there's potential there. But I struggle to find it with my content right now. Question from Rebecca in Ottawa. As an RTO, regional tourism organization, how can I appeal to influencers to come to my city to show off our area? Great question. So there's different kind of levels of influencers, right? I'm going to put my handle back on the screen, guys, because my website is not open. Fearless and far. Add banner. Show. There we go. So speaking for me, I've got 300,000 subscribers. I have a Instagram, about 100,000 followers, and I would say I have quite a strong brand, which is my Fearless and Far extreme adventure travel stuff. For myself, if I was going to go to a town or country to promote it, I would want to arrive and be able to, I would want to plan out my own itinerary beforehand. So I would want to go find the restaurant with the local specialty and be able to film these particular videos. In my opinion, and people will probably argue with me on this, I don't feel that just the travel vlog works that well these days. The show up in a place, say, hey, we're going to see the sights, and you just kind of follow the person along. It doesn't work for me, at least. There are people out there who do it very well, and they have a consistent audience. But I feel it's losing effectiveness. And so what you see is you see a lot of these content creators making these videos that are like a big, powerful thing. Again, for that I think the thumbnail and title. If you can find a powerful thumbnail and title to go along with this incredible thing or you're doing or trying, then I think that swings a lot harder in the algorithm, and as well as for the viewer, they know what it's about. So for me, I'd want to create my own itinerary or my own videos before I even arrive. Some people might not be that way exactly. I do get a lot of emails from tourism boards who just basically say, hey, we want you to come. And that's cool, but at the end of the day, like, again, I want to make my kind of content. That's the most important thing. But I have been contacted a few times before being like, hey, Mike, we love your content, which is how they all start. But then saying like, hey, have you heard about our cool extreme adventure activities? I mean, you don't have to go back through my entire library of content and look at all my videos and say, oh, we have an experience. No, just see if I'm adventure travel, then showcase some of your cool adventure travel videos or cool specialties. I think just kind of listing some options there is really important. Kind of highlighting some things that would be on brand for this content creator. And then from there, starting the conversation. So they know, the content creator knows that they've done a bit of research, the brand has, and also they have some little bites they can start thinking about as far as content goes. Cool, guys. Well, we are closing in on 45 minutes. Okay, a question from Elaine. Do you think there is an online niche for boomer women travel videos? I think there's an online niche for everything, Elaine. Every possible thing on the planet. Is there other, do you think there's other boomer women traveling right now? Of course there is. They just need to find you. And people love, I mean, if we know one thing about the world today, it's that people love being in groups and are very passionate about these groups they get involved in, sometimes for good or for bad. But at the end of the day, there's definitely a market for that stuff. And sure, there's not going to be as big as a market for a bunch of guys with six packs doing backflips off bridges. but there are people out there. And again, it's like, what are you going for? What is success? Is success getting a million subscribers, or is success being able to live a life you want to live? And there's enough people on this planet, boomer women travelers, that you could do that, right? I'm sure there's, I don't know how many, there's millions of them out there doing their thing. And if you start doing your thing and you get better at it and you become a voice for them and you make content like they would want to see, you never know. And who knows, maybe you only get 1,000 subscribers and maybe you make 100 videos and they don't do well on YouTube. Again, this whole fishhook idea that I talked about in the beginning, which is every video is a fishhook in the ocean. You never know who's going to go by and take a bite. Could be a new best friend, could be a brand. The options are just always so endless when you have those fish hooks out in the ocean. So I would think the only thing you're going to waste is a little bit of time by making videos. And really wasting time, you're going to have these memories encapsulated from your travels that you can watch in another 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Who knows, right? Like, these are always going to be around. And memories are kind of a really important thing. And being able to edit all that footage down to a video, I don't think there's a lose situation ever, except for maybe you'll get a bit embarrassed when you'll have your first hater. But I think those things should be praised, because if you have haters, it means you have lovers. At the end of the day, you just want people who care, like people build their entire careers off haters. I'm sure we can all name a few right now. At the end of the day, you want to make people content care about, and you can't have lovers without having haters. So that's the worst going to happen, some criticism, but you're bigger and better than that, right? From John, do you see drone footage as a positive or a bit overdone now? Okay, this is one I missed too. But yeah, so drone footage, no, I'm so on board with drone footage. I think it's almost like the standard. I don't think it's overdone. The only thing you have to watch out for now is a lot of the heavy regulations around the world with that kind of stuff. But I don't think it's overdone. I think it's become almost the new standard. I mean, I don't use drone for every single video. Like I told you, I did leech therapy here in Poland a few days ago. I wasn't flying drones over leeches or anything. But if I'm doing a big piece about a festival or a city or I'll always have the drone with me for sure. I think it's really important, actually. And I told you we'd talk a bit about gear. I'll just fire off some things I have now that I really love, and if you want to talk more about it, just throw it in the comments. So the drone I have is the Mavic Pro 2, and I have some circular polarizing filters on there by, I forget the brand, guys. I forget the brand. Anyway, but that's a really important addition, I think, to a drone. And that drone is absolutely fantastic. There's nothing I would change about it. It's perfect. I shoot everything on a Sony A7 III. There are A7Rs, A7Ss. If you're familiar with Sony, there's lots of models. A7 III, I think, is really good, and it's not too expensive, but it's really, really great value. Beautiful image, and you can bash it off a few things and not get too worried about it breaking, because it's not that expensive. I shoot most of my content on a 16 to 35 millimeter zoom lens, but what I'm loving these days is a 90 millimeter macro lens. I absolutely love. I've been shooting with one of those for 6 years. It's a bit of a different story, but it's great. And I just got a 24 millimeter 1.4 that I never thought I'd be shooting on prime lenses, and I'm obsessed with it. It's so good. Anyway, that's enough video camera nerdy stuff for now. I told you I was going to get into it too much. But if you want to know more about it, either message me after or throw it in the comments now. So I missed one question that was, how do you find your niche, and how do you know it's a good niche? Well, like what's your life niche? Is what are the things you're genuinely interested in? What are the things you think about? What are the things you like to go see on your own? Myself, I don't really care for art. I appreciate art, but I don't get inspired by it. I don't travel for that. Like, why do you go to places? That's what you have to ask yourself. Why am I going to Bolivia or Bali? Like, what is it that brings me there? And then I think you can build your niche around that. And I don't think being too specific is ever a bad thing. You want to be the first of your category. You want to be the only person, as close to the only person doing this thing. If you're just another luxury travel blogger or adventure travel blogger, there's 100,000 people out there doing that. The more niche, the better, because then you're known as that guy or that gal who does that thing that's specific. And again, the world's big enough that there will always be enough people out there with the same loves as you to make that happen. From Len in Miami. I've resisted monetizing my videos as I didn't want the ads interfering with the videos, especially if the ads don't relate to my subjects or for products I don't endorse. Besides, the numbers required to make any significant money on YouTube is huge. Any way to work around that? Len, man, I know exactly what that's like, because for the first 6 years of having a YouTube channel, I felt exactly the same way. I felt exactly the same way because I hate advertisements. I hate it. Like I don't like being advertised to. I was just in my hometown for the first time in years during the pandemic, and I was listening to the radio, and I couldn't handle how much advertising was happening. And even when we watched Netflix, and then we were watching a movie on actual television, and there was commercials, and I've always hated it. However, I did start monetizing my videos because someone said this to me, and they said, is your content worth someone taking 3 seconds to skip an ad for? Do you think you work hard enough to justify a couple advertisements to make you a little bit of money in there? And I had the same argument. I was like, well, I'm not really getting that much views anyway. But you will, right? Or are you self-defeating yourself? Maybe a little bit of both, right? Like you have to think about what's going to happen down the road. And for me, I wanted to, is my life worth, am I working hard enough to make it worth this little inconvenience for people? Am I not worth having advertisements? Am I not worth being able to do this full time? And of course the answer is yes. You work hard, you make the content, you put so much time and effort into it. You're worth monetizing your videos. And I do hate advertisements, but I realized also very shortly that people don't really care. Everyone's advertising, and people aren't even going to notice that you are too. And at the end of the day, you're worth getting paid for your work, right? You're worth getting paid for all of the work you put into it. In the beginning, I talked a bit about other ways I've done it as well, with Patreon as well. I've licensed footage. I do brand deals, but all these things, the brand deals now, if you watch YouTube, you see NordVPN, you see Shutterstock, you see all these brands having the content creator create their own 30-second or 90-second ad in there. But I don't know. It's like, you got to make money, man, or it's not going to work. And so I kind of bit the bullet a little bit and did it and started advertising. From Jessica, I'm looking to find ways to do better in editing videos. Well, the thing with video editing is less is more sometimes, and this whole idea on pacing, I think, is not understood or appreciated as well as it should be. Is that the editing should be done fairly basically, but the driving factor, always cutting and pushing. And you can do a big long piece to camera, that's great, but at the end of the day, it's like, what's going to be easier to explain something? Let's say you want to talk about a cathedral being 1,000 years old and a damsel got taken by a dragon from the top. You can say that for 2 minutes, or you can probably cram it into a 15-second voiceover, and which at the end of the day is going to get people to stay longer. My opinion on editing now is keep it simple, and anything that is emotional, my face is there for the most part. Yeah, because again, people connect with people and people connect with emotion, and you can't really broadcast. I mean, you can definitely broadcast emotion with voiceover, but it's connected. It's about connecting, and that's done with speaking to the camera, right? Face to face. Information, maybe sometimes a piece to camera speaking, but often now it's voiceover. If you watch any of my more recent videos, there's a voiceover second in the beginning. I get all the information, setting the scene, and then it's more into an emotional piece after that. You can practice editing. That I learned on a site called lynda.com, Lynda. Now there's probably even more great resources on YouTube and everything like that, but it's mostly practice. But I would say if you're going to figure out one thing, it's this pacing idea. How can you keep it going forward? How can you keep it going forward? And that's done by understanding it, watching videos that do it well, like I mentioned Mr. Beast, and also keeping that in mind as you're editing the video itself.
Hey, Mike, I think that's about all the questions we got.
Cool.
That's amazing. All really, really good tips. We did have one question earlier. Actually, I'm going to skip that. I'm going to come back to it. I had a question. You talked about story arc, and you talked about well, I'm curious to know storyboarding and storytelling. And you said, you need to have a good story arc. Do you know your story before you go to a place that you want to film? How do you prepare? Do you prepare?
Most of my career, no. And then as of last year, yes. So when I told you that I had a bit of a realization that I wasn't focusing on the most important thing. And also I realized that maybe I just made videos sometimes that people didn't really care to watch, and as much as I thought they were okay, I just wasn't making a video that people wanted to watch, right? And so I realized that, how do you change that, right? So first of all, it's getting people there, the clicking on the thumbnail and the title. And then I started, again, building this idea, not so much like, hey, I want to make a video about this. It was like, what's my title? Like, how can I build a video around a title? And of course, it's all going to be travel related. And you can start with an idea and then build it into a title. But starting from that one point and then being able to build the idea around it. So let's say it's going to the Amazon rainforest to try frog poison Kambo rituals. Okay, so think about the title, think about the thumbnail, and then think about how you want to present that, and then have a structure, at least how I like to do it. And a format I see a lot is having a structure in the beginning with voiceover, maybe getting some photos from ancient rituals on Wicked Commons that are copyright free that you can use. And then having a bit of a loose voiceover. But with travel, you can't always script everything, right? Because often it's just about showing up someplace and seeing what it's like. And so having that in the back end where it's the experience, the emotion, but scripting a lot of the idea in the beginning, because number one, later it's easier to edit and the viewer gets thrown into the story very easily, but also what you're talking about. Like if you script a little bit and you do a bit of research, then you already have like basically some pieces to camera and bits and things in your head anyway. And then so when you are there, you are more knowledgeable and you do feel more confident speaking, and you can regurgitate a few of these facts. Maybe you'll use it, and if you don't, you can put it in the voiceover. But I've put in a lot more structure. Basically, it's like lots of thought into thumbnail and title, then structuring some kind of voiceover or talking points or things I want to get, and then leaving the last 50%, 60% up to just the experience itself. But I do structure it first before I go. For the longest time, I would just show up and shoot it, and I would do a pretty good job. But then sometimes it just didn't work out, or it just wasn't that good, or it just wasn't it. And I think it's a common problem now with like travel vlog style. I feel to want to maximize your successfulness, having a bit more structure for sure.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to pop over here and see if there's any other questions. Hey, Petra, she asks, what creators inspire you except Mr. Beast?
What creators inspire me? Honestly, I don't watch too many creators these days. And I've got lots of friends that I support a lot that do really cool things. But at the end of the day, I feel like I don't want to be influenced by anyone's content. I don't want to make stand-up comedies a bit of the same way. I've heard stand-up comics speak about like when you spend too much time watching other comics, you start to just make jokes like them, or sometimes something they said comes out of your head. And I haven't really been too focused on watching. I have lots of friends and we keep in contact a lot, but I don't really have any like that. I mean, there's some great channels out there, like Yes Theories, of course, fantastic. Matt Davella is another one that's really great as well. I get inspiration from these people, but I don't really watch too many these days, honestly. I think it's really important to kind of keep your inspiration in a little confined bubble, and build it up from there, because then you'll be like yourself, and that's really the most important thing.
Okay. And one last question. So Nicole asked this a little earlier. I'm sorry, Nicole, we didn't get to it till now, but because I think it's such a great question that I wanted to leave till the end. She says, now that you've been doing this for a while, does it feel like a job, or are you crazy about it now as you were before?
Some days it definitely feels like a job, right? Like last year I traveled 11 months out of 12. And that not every day was a gleaming, that's not a word, gleaming beacon of inspiration. But what I've learned is that the difference between a professional creative and a hobbyist is just trying your best to show up every day. And if you don't feel like doing it, you just gotta do it anyway. And I made a bit of a like an earthquake plan, I called it, where the days come where you're just not inspired, and this is what you do to pick yourself back up. So for me, have an ice cold shower and I stretch and listen to. I have a playlist on Spotify called the FAR playlist. It's a travel playlist. I wonder if I can put it in the.
Yeah.
Complicated. Can I do it?
Hold on. Sure.
Can you guys still see me right now or no? Can you see my face? No?
Yeah.
Oh, and not cut out. Anyway.
We can throw it up.
Yeah, anyway, you can probably find it. We can, okay, hold on, let me find it. I'm really proud of this playlist. It's like 6 years in the making. It's got like 1,000 followers on it, and it's just all of my favorite travels. And it's no lyrics. It's just like, I love it. So I'm gonna put it in chat. What do you think's best?
Yeah, you can throw it up in the
banner.
Banner, yeah.
It might be a bit complicated for can people click on the banners or no?
No, but we can put it in the live chat actually. So throw it up in the private chat with us, okay, and then I'll throw it up in the.
Yeah. So and then that's my.
Said you see your face and want the playlist, so it's hiding it.
Great. Yeah. So I put it in our private chat, so you can copy it. But that's my earthquake plan, and I know that if I feel like uninspired or tired or busted up on the inside for whatever reason, I just have a cold shower, I stretch, and I listen to this playlist, and it just helps me, and that's it. And I think being able to have that thing, no matter where you are in the world, no matter what you're doing, traveling or at home, because it's not like inspiration is this thing you can use all the time. Like I made a series just recently about waking up every morning at 4:30 a.m. and for a month, and I realized something. Like some mornings it was really easy to wake up at 4:30. I woke up, got lots of sleep the night before, went to bed early, and crushed it. I went for a run. I hate running, but I did it. And then other mornings I hated my life. I couldn't even stomach the idea of getting out of bed that early. But I was making a video as well, so I kind of had to. There was some accountability there. But I realized that inspiration is this great thing you can use when you have it, but you can't rely on it. Some days it's there, some days it's not. And discipline is a thing that really matters. And discipline is not even making it an option. It's like, this is what's happening today, so we're going to do it. And there's no like if or but or maybe. It's just this is as essential as eating and sleeping and breathing, right? And so for me, it's having this plan that I can get back into my life after a funk. But yeah, no, not every day is the same. I think I run on a pretty positive average most of the time, but humans are humans, right? And life's a big complicated mess for us all sometimes. But at the end of the day, making sure I'm making content that I love. And many times in this journey over the past 10 years making videos, there's been times where I didn't feel inspired for a long time. And then I realized two reasons. Number one, I wasn't making content that was truly me. I was selling out in some way or another, making content for other brands, or it's, or I wasn't creating. And sometimes when you don't have a schedule to post, or you just get in a funk and life gets busy, you just don't, you don't post on Instagram, you don't post on YouTube. And then I realized that I would just kind of get deeper in this funk. And whenever I just made something and posted it, I always felt so much better. And so always be creating is something that's really important. And if I feel like I'm having a shitty day or a shitty week, I'm like, when's the last time I actually made something and posted it? Like I actually created something. And it's quite often like 2 weeks ago, or sometimes even like a while ago. And so I always just make sure I have been creating. And if I haven't, I also go for that earthquake plan of mine.
And do you have a schedule for your channel, for your videos? Like sometimes you're not inspired. Do you still try and stick to some sort of schedule, or?
Yeah, well, once a week. That's the idea. Sometimes it's twice, sometimes it's once. I mean, I'm not perfect. Sometimes it's not, but yeah.
But you're not hard on yourself, right? Like it takes.
Yeah, well, I think you have to be a bit on yourself, because who's going to be hard on you if you're not? There's no boss. Okay. So yeah. I think sometimes creatives kind of have to like hit a point where it's like, no. Oh my God, just go do it. And then you go do it and you feel amazing. But because there's no one on your shoulder poking you to say do it. It's just life,
Mm-hmm.
and you sometimes. So you have to kind of guilt yourself into doing it. But
Yeah.
But everyone has those days, right? And it's just
Exactly.
it's expecting them, not being surprised by them and taken aback.
Right. But if you're creating based on your inspiration, what inspires you? What I love that you mentioned quite a few times is create what you want, what inspires you. And you said best, live your brand, do what you want to do and not what you think others want to see from you maybe, or what brands might want from you. And if it doesn't feel like you're inspired by it, maybe others might not be. And then if you do what you are inspired by, then you'll find people who are just like you and they'll keep coming back and want to see your content.
Yeah. And I think there's a point where it has to swing. And a common piece of advice for people starting is always like, say yes to everything. And in the beginning, I did say yes to everything, but I was also excited to do everything because everything was brand new. And I did like learning, and I did like traveling. I had a travel style, but I was just excited to like get a few bucks or a free trip to go anywhere. If it was a bed and breakfast on the other side of town or another province, even, that was great. Another country, even better. But then after a while, I think at a point for every creative, it goes from saying yes to everything, every opportunity, and those all being fish hooks in the ocean as well, to saying no to about everything. And that transition period is I think is painful for a lot of people, because you have to hit that wall where you're like, I really don't like what I'm working on right now. And then you have to start asking these tough questions where it's like, okay, well then what would I like working on? And then am I being really true to myself? But that becomes a point where every creator makes that switch from yes to everything to no to most things.
All right. I'm going to pop over to the chat and see. Okay, this is one last question from Len. What's the title of your BBC show?
The BBC show is called simply The Travel Show. And so if you go into YouTube, actually I can make a little banner. And you type in, create banner, The Travel Show. And so there it is. So type that into YouTube and you'll see the program there. But the program itself goes out on BBC World, all over the world, every week. I'm not on it every week. I'm one of a couple hosts, and we're not traveling too much these days, obviously, but I have been invited. I mean, we do shows all the time. So you'll see my face there on television quite often on BBC World News and BBC Two, I believe. But they do post many clips on that YouTube page. So catch it on BBC World News or catch it on YouTube.
Okay, awesome. Well, I think that's about it. We're just about done. Thanks, Mike, for sharing your time and your knowledge with us. If anybody has any other questions to just drop them in the chat and we'll see if we can get to them and send them through by email.
I've got one link.
All right.
Okay. But I made a simpler one than that, but we can roll with that for now. Basically, this is a video I made talking about some of the things I did today, but a bit more specifically. And if you go to that page, it'll go to my website, and then there's a sign up to get it delivered to your inbox. So do people see this link right now?
Yeah, they'll see it up there. We can put that in the chat as well so they can directly click on it.
Yeah, fantastic.
Okay.
Do you want me to put that into?
We can do that just after.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Great, guys. And just go there. There's a video there. It's 20 minutes talking a bit more concisely about a lot of these things and also touching on other things more specifically.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Thank you for the time, and enjoy Poland. Where are you off to next?
We'll be in Poland for another week and then going to Germany. And then I don't know after that. Life's a big adventure right now, trying to travel during the pandemic. So
yeah, I bet.
I'm Canadian, and things are a lot easier for Canadians right now.
Some of us are jealous that you actually got to get out of the country. We're still stuck here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I had a girlfriend here, so my girlfriend is Polish, and so we had been separated in Yemen. We were traveling in Socotra, actually, an island off Yemen. I got a knock at the tent at 3 a.m. saying, you got to leave. And this is like middle of March. So anyway, 4 months later, we're back together again in Poland.
Awesome. Great. Anytime you want to come back, we'd love to have you back, Mike. Thanks again.
Okay.
For those that are watching, if you've missed anything on the webinar, you can always go back and replay it. We'll have that posted. And then our next webinar is July 28. Actually, Travel Massive Glasgow is doing a talk with Visit Scotland on how to market your business during post-COVID, rather. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, guys.
All right.